What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show. The Blazers do the unthinkable for the second night in a row. They lose to the Houston Rockets. They lose 115-98. Keljin Blevins puts on a masterclass of a tank job, and overall this was a pretty good tanking day for the Portland Trail Blazers. We'll talk about that. Negative news, Trendon Watford goes down with an injury. We don't know what it is yet. It could be a hyperextension. It could be something worse. If we get any information during the stream, feel free to post it in chat, and we can talk about that. Eric, what do you want to lead off with, man? This is a good loss for Portland in terms of their tank job. The Kings won earlier today, but obviously it's kind of soured a little bit with Watford going down with an injury.
Yeah, I was so excited that we were losing this game, and then the Watford thing happened. It just kind of took all the fun out of it. Yeah, it's just unfortunate, man. You see all these players tweeting the prayer emoji to them and stuff like that. It's never a good sign. I don't know if you can read anything into that, but...
I'm not going to read anything into anything until we get something official. But, because, prayers out to him.
You're Mr. YouTube doctor. You always have an opinion.
Yeah, I've learned. I would... My issue in the past was I would try and guess at when players would be back. Nurkic, I thought he was going to be back from his broken leg sooner, and I speculated as to that. I don't do that really anymore, because you see with timetables with guys is they're all over the place, and Chris Paul came back sooner than thought, so did Patrick Williams. Zion's been out all year. That wasn't expected. So, but in terms of something like this, I see a lot of people like seeing Didi Lozada tweet out prayers up for Trendon Watford, and seems like they're reading into it being a seriously severe injury because he's tweeting that. I'm not going to read too much into it. I don't even really particularly want to talk too much about it, if I'm being honest, until we know what the injury is, because at this point we don't know much. It could be a situation where he's out for the rest of the season, which I'm completely okay with, as long as he is able to play next year when it matters. Don't want to see him go down with an injury at all, but at this point, I'm just kind of hoping it's something that maybe has him out for a couple weeks, because it doesn't look like it's a situation where he's going to be playing in the next couple of games with 8 games left in the season and a lost season. I'm not worried about his status this year. I just hope that it's not something that takes away his summer, takes away potential summer league. Mm-hmm. But, I'm not going to read too much into anything until we actually get something official.
Hopefully it's similar to remember when Dame hurt his knee in the playoffs. It wasn't super serious, but, he missed the last playoff game and then, had to sit out and rest for a month or two, but then was able to go right back into training and stuff after that. So hopefully it's similar to that.
Remember CJ when he went down against the San Antonio Spurs? I think it was a game in San Antonio. He went down and it looked like a seriously severe knee injury, and it ended up being like a pop-up cletus muscle or something that I'd never heard of that was strained. It could be a number of different things. It could be a bad hyperextension. It could be maybe what CJ had, I don't know. So hopefully it's a situation where he's able to have his summer and be healthy going into next year. That's just kind of what everything hinges on for him, in my opinion. Just hoping for the best. But I'm not going to sit here and overreact to tweets. And, I see a lot of Blazer fans saying, oh no, due to players tweeting out prayers up for Trendon Watford. And I'm just not going to try and read too much into that.
Yeah, for sure.
But, Trent was having a good game too, which he's been having good games. Second game in a row, I believe, that he got 5 assists. He finished with 15 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, a couple steals, 6 turnovers, but honestly, he hasn't been turning over the ball hardly at all, despite being a guy playmaking. He's actually been very impressive in terms of taking care of the ball for the way he plays for a rookie. So, he's having a 7 for 11 from the field, missed the 2 threes he took, but 7 for 9 inside the arc. He was having a really, really good game, and he's been having a good stretch to end the season. So it sucks that it looks like that's going to be the end of his season. I'm just hoping that he's able to kind of build on that in the offseason.
Yeah, he had a really nice play where he got the ball in the post and found Brandon Williams on a cut for a lay-in. Just showcasing his ability to maybe run some offense through him, even in a situation where we have a better team. So hopefully he's okay and able to show that off next season.
Yep. It sounds like Trent Watford is getting an MRI right now, so could have news right after this is done. I don't know how long it's supposed to take or when it will be done, but could have news later tonight, maybe on stream, that we'll be able to talk about. But shout out to JM1231 with a $5 dono. He says, let's go Duke. On a Blazers note, the take is so important because in my mind this is a 6-player draft. Griffin or Sharp to PDX. Go Kings. Appreciate the $5 dono, Jam. I don't agree that it's a 6-player draft. I think we'd be just fine with the 7th pick or the 8th pick. I want as high of a pick as possible to try and draft the best prospect possible, but I still think there's going to be an all-star below the top 6. I still think there's going to be a couple guys that end up being sleeper picks that teams should have taken earlier. So appreciate the dono, man.
Yep, and as far as this first sentence, that's the only thing saving my bracket in our Blazers Uprise paid league is that I have the Duke Blue Devils winning, and I'm the only one who has them. So
yeah,
I guess go Duke as well.
Yeah, I did the math, Eric. You can't win, unfortunately. I did do the math. Somebody will beat you if Duke makes the championship. Let me see who. I don't remember, but I did the math, and it looks like you can get second, which there will be a payout for second. So you still got a chance. I'm done. I Duke in the championship, but I can't get enough. My max score is 252, which doesn't put me in the top 3. But you have a chance of getting second if they win that thing. So still like multiple people with a chance to win and a chance to place. Romp had Duke in the championship. So Ronk has Duke in the championship. Currently, he is enough points up where, yeah, I think he would win out. But you got a chance a second. Better than I'm doing. This was not the year for me. So I don't even want to talk about college basketball. I want to get the conversation away from that because it hasn't been a good tournament for me on multiple levels. So speaking about this game, Keljin Blevins really stepped up today for the Portland Trail Blazers, to say the least.
2 for 12.
2 for 12 in 13 minutes. 2 for 5 from the three-point line. He was only a -4, but it was almost like he came in and set the tone there. Late in the third, early in the fourth, just came in jacking up shot after shot after shot, missing shot after shot after shot. He was 0 for 7 inside the arc in those 13 minutes. And then it was pretty much just downhill for the Portland Trail Blazers from there, going downhill obviously being a good thing. So, good job, Blevins. I guess, what'd you think of his masterful tank job performance today, Eric?
I mean, actually, I thought his minutes, the Blazers did okay. That's that when Houston got up double digits. I think it was right after Blevins went to the bench. So, yeah, I mean, he tried his best, but he was 40% from 3, so it's hard to overcome that. 0 for 7 from 2.
Yeah. So, CJ Ellaby struggled today, 3 for 10 from the field. Keon Johnson started off well, 3 for 3 from 3, ended 4 for 9. But he was 5 for 15 from the field and had 5 turnovers, 0 assists, so not a good game for Keon. Greg Brown only played 6 minutes. He's seeing an eye doctor, so not a good night for the rookies. 2 of them go out with injuries. And then you got Elijah Hughes, 19 minutes, 1 for 5. This was just a pretty ugly game. Watford played well. Drew Eubanks played well, but the Blazers shooting fell off a cliff. They had 60 points at half, only end up scoring 38 in the second half. Their shooting clip fell off. And Houston, for the second night in a row, shot the ball well, 43% from 3 tonight for the Rockets. I believe they were 42% last night. So their shooting has shown up both these games. I thought it was going to be a monumental task to lose both these games. Mm-hmm. They lost both these games.
Yep.
They lost both these games. Impressive.
Now we turn to the next one that's going to be a monumental test.
Yeah. So as far as Rockets go, Sengun. Something. 10 for 16, 27 points in 26 minutes, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. So he had a terrific game for the Rockets. And then their other first-round pick, Josh Green, 25.6
Green.
rebounds, 2 assists. Jalen Green. Josh Green? Dude, there's so many Jay Greens in the league. Jalen Green, 9 for 17, 6 for 11 from 3. He had 25.6 rebounds, 2 assists in 32 minutes. So those two rookies stepped up. Christian Wood, kind of a quiet game, but you got some Rockets players looking like they're rounding into form late in the season, which definitely helped. Jalen Green has struggled throughout his rookie season, but he's had some good moments as of late, which is perfect for the Blazers. We're going into this stretch where it's an extremely easy stretch. We've been talking about it all season long. 9 games in a row where they play one of OKC, New Orleans, Houston, or San Antonio. And they've started off this stretch pretty dang well. You got the Thunder up next, and then you got the Pelicans, Cj Mccollum's return game after that. The Pelicans are an interesting situation. We'll talk about it when we get to the Tankathon, unless you want to jump to the Tankathon now.
We can in a minute.
Yeah, but I don't know. What were your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be Şengün, but I said last post game that I wasn't really worried about Houston because they're the type that has players that thrive on this rat ball type stuff, where it's just like open gym type game, right? So I was pretty confident after watching last night that it would happen tonight. Now, the Rockets hadn't won all year in a game where Eric Gordon sat. They were 0 for 17, so it was nice to break that losing streak for them tonight. Just good job by the Blazers. We're now 1-5, 1-4, I think, in this stretch of games we're worried about all season. Yeah, well, if you're just counting the 9 in which they play one of those 4 teams, we're 0-3. Because that started with San Antonio. But it's an 11-game stretch because the 2 games before that were Detroit and Indiana. So It's 11 games where it was extremely easy, 9 in which we played one of those 4 teams. And yeah, we're 1-4. We lost at Indiana, beat Detroit. Unfortunately, that was a very close game, or else we'd be riding an 8-game losing streak right now. But then lost to San Antonio, lost both games to Houston. So now you got OKC coming up. That's going to be a challenge as well, but I have a little bit more faith. It depends on who OKC's playing, because they've had games where they've been missing everyone. When they've been relatively healthy, I think they've been better than a team like Houston. So depending on who they're playing, do you know their injury situation? Giddey announced today out for the season. Mm-hmm. Baisley went down in the game tonight. He's probably going to be ruled out for the rest of the season. SGA didn't play the last 2 games with an ankle injury. I'd be surprised if they brought him back this season. So they are epically trying to out-tank us right now. So I don't know. It's going to be tough. Yeah, for Portland, no Watford. Watford's the leading scorer the past couple of games, 19 points and 15 points. So no Watford against OKC. Trey Mann masterclass incoming. Yeah, so I mean, you got Trey Mann, Brandon Williams. It's going to be an ugly, ugly game, but I think that's definitely a game that the Blazers can still lose because you still got Poku, you still got Trey Mann, you still got Aaron Wiggins. No relation to Andrew Wiggins. Aaron Wiggins has had some good moments. I don't know if he's healthy. It's really hard to kind of speculate who's going to play for the Thunder, but they've had guys step up and have some impressive moments. Isaiah Roby's had a couple of impressive games in the past month. So it's a situation going forward with that game. And then I expect us to lose to New Orleans. After that, New Orleans obviously got Cj Mccollum. That's better than far better than anything else we got right now. So it's looking promising. I don't even know how much I want to beat New Orleans. I think I want to lose that game, but New Orleans is just in an interesting situation that we really need the Tankathon to explain. After OKC and New Orleans, then San Antonio twice. And the situation with New Orleans and San Antonio is San Antonio beat New Orleans today. They're only 1 game back, so they have a chance at moving past New Orleans for 10th in terms of seeding. So New Orleans wouldn't even be in the play-in, so we wouldn't even have to worry about that. They could both pass the Lakers, and neither of them could be, or both of them could be in the play-in, which might be bad too. Yep, and 2 of the next 3 games for the Pelicans are against the Lakers.
They play the Lakers, then they play us, then they play the Lakers again. So rooting for New Orleans to lose both those games against the Lakers, and then probably rooting for them to beat us. It just makes it, I don't know, it's hard to figure out what I want. I don't know what your preference is for that March 30th game, Portland and the Pelicans, but...
My preference is to lose every game, so I don't really care how that affects anything. I mean, if we lose the other 2 games to the Spurs, I don't think it matters that we lose to the Pelicans. So, yeah, it's going to always come down to what happens between those 3 teams in terms of their other games, especially those 2 you mentioned with the Lakers and Pelicans head-to-head. I don't think we're going to really be able to influence it that much. So I just want to control what we can control and lose our game. And if the Pelicans end up with a slightly better chance of making the playoffs, or if something happens and they have a slightly better chance of, getting a percentage higher in the draft or whatever, I'm not really worried about that. I'm more worried about us moving up as high as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I still think we're more likely to finish 7th. I don't think there's a chance we finish 8th, assuming we take care of business and lose against San Antonio. So it's a situation, that's kind of why I'm stuck on it, where I would even take our pick being 1 lower if it meant that the Pelicans pick was 1 higher, even with the slight increase in odds of them moving into the top 4, just to guarantee that they're not in the play-in. Because I hate the way the Lakers are playing. San Antonio, they just beat New Orleans, but once New Orleans has Brandon Ingram back, the Clippers have been struggling. They recently lost 5 in a row. I don't know if they played today. I'm worried about New Orleans playing their way in through the play-in. So in terms of the Blazers playing the Pelicans, though, like if we're gonna win 2 more games the rest of the season, I hope it's those 2 games. That's kind of where I sit as we head into the next week. But I'm not necessarily going to root for Portland to win. Those games I'm kind of just more on the fence about, where I don't really care too much about the outcome, because it hurts us in one way or another and it benefits us in one way or another.
Yeah, it's tough because, it might not matter. Even if we win those 2 games, they could still make the playoffs or make the play-in and win that. So then it could end up costing us positioning. So yeah, that's why I said I'd rather just worry about us having the best position as possible.
Yep, let's jump into the Tankathon since we're already kind of painting the picture for you guys. We'll do a Tankathon sim as we always do. Let me pull it up here. Alright, so the big development today that we haven't talked about yet, Eric, is the Blazers and the Kings are tied in the win column because the Kings beat the Magic. They were down 8. They were down 8 with like a minute and a half left. I thought they were cooked. Then they come back and tie it. They end up being down 3 in overtime with about a minute and a half left, and then hit back-to-back threes to help them beat the Magic. So Portland is only a half game behind the Kings as of now. The Kings have a game against the Rockets coming up in the next 2 games. I forget if it's the next game or the game. I think it's the game after. So a good chance for them to pick up another win. You could be looking at, on March 30th, Portland being alone in 6th place, which would give them 37% odds of the top 4 and 9% chance of the number 1 overall pick.
Yep, and we cost Houston the chance to be all alone in number 1 spot.
Yep. Indiana is going to be hard to catch. They sat Malcolm Brogdon today. They rested him. So
They lost by 40.
They lost by 40, yeah. So that was the game in which the speaker caught on fire in Toronto. Or maybe it was, I think it was in Toronto. I don't know. It was against Toronto. So Indiana's going to be hard to catch because there's a chance that they don't get to 27 wins for the rest of the season. So even if Portland loses out, I could see a realistic possibility that they still don't catch the Pacers. Let's just look at the rest of the Pacers' schedule. You got a pretty difficult schedule, Eric. Atlanta, Denver, Boston. Detroit is the one easy game there. Then Philadelphia twice, in Brooklyn.
Yikes.
So I am absolutely not expecting to be able to catch Indiana.
Yeah.
I think Indiana finishes with 26 wins.
Yep. They'd have to. I mean, the only thing we can hope for is if, like, well, I don't think that's going to happen with how bunched up the East is. But I was hoping that like one of those teams or two of those teams didn't need to win those games at the end, that last back to back with Philadelphia and Brooklyn if they're like set in their draft or in their seeding.
Here's what's interesting, actually. Philadelphia might want to lose those games because Brooklyn right now is the 8th seed. Philadelphia is in the running currently. Let me pull up the standings to make sure this is 100% correct. Let me pull it up. Yeah, Philadelphia right now is the 1 seed. They're tied with Miami. Brooklyn is the 8th seed. They're a game ahead of Charlotte, who's 9th, and they're 2 games back behind Cleveland, who's in 7th. So right now you have the top 4 teams separated by half a game. That's Philadelphia, Miami, Boston, and Milwaukee. It could be a situation where Philadelphia doesn't want to be the number 1 or number 2 seed because they don't want to play Brooklyn in the first round. That is very, very... That's possible. So that's kind of my only hope for us catching Indiana is Philadelphia goes into those 2 games like we want to fall to 3rd or 4th because we don't want to play Brooklyn first round. If Brooklyn wins the 7 versus 8 playing game, they end up being the 7th seed. If they lose that game, then win the next playing game, they end up the 8th seed. So that's the one interesting wrinkle here.
If Philadelphia finishes 2nd and Brooklyn wins the first playing game there...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is they might want to avoid being the number 1 or number 2 seed.
Yeah,
because that's the thing. 3rd place is only half a game behind.
I think home court's more important.
Possibly, but I don't know. I'm not saying that they will. I'm saying it's a chance. I'm saying it's a possibility. That's the one wrinkle.
See, I would look at it this way: if Brooklyn's in that first play-in game and they win, they're the 7th seed, so they'd be on the opposite side of the bracket if you're the 1 seed. So I'd be trying to get the 1 seed. Thinking that Brooklyn's going to hold on to that and get the 7th seed since they're going to do everything possible to avoid Philly as well. And then they'll have Kyrie back for all games now. They have Durant healthy. At some point, they might get Simmons back. But, yeah, I don't know. I would just assume they're going to get 7th.
It's very possible that Toronto or Cleveland, whoever's the 7th seed, beats them in that playing game, even if they're healthy, though. Like, I wouldn't put it past Cleveland or Toronto to win that game. The play-in just makes things, like, because here's the thing. If there wasn't a play-in, then you'd pretty much look at Brooklyn being an 8 seed if they make it. They're currently 2 games behind Cleveland. Of course, they could pass them, but the thing is, with the play-in, they could move up to 7 just by winning a play-in game. So, it makes things a little bit more confusing. So, it could be a chance where, I mean... Very realistically, it could be a situation where Philadelphia's trying to win those games, Boston's trying to win those games. It's just an interesting wrinkle if teams are trying to avoid Brooklyn. It could be a situation where maybe Boston on April 1st doesn't really care to win that game, and same thing with Philadelphia on the 5th and the 9th. That's just a little wrinkle into that, because I think it's going to take those teams not really caring about winning those games in order for Indiana to take care of business, because Indiana's going full tank mode right now. Really the only team that I could see them beating while going full tank mode is Detroit, who we beat while going full tank mode. Mm-hmm. So Indiana's unlikely to catch.
Or Cleveland, man. They might not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
The only good thing for them is then their pick doesn't convey.
Yeah. I mean, they're 41-33 right now. They're in 7th. So they got to catch Toronto. Because Toronto is... Cleveland's only 5.5 back of first, and they're in the 7th seed. So the East is still bunched up like it's been all year. But right now it's pretty much just Sacramento. Obviously rooting for Indiana to pull off, a couple upsets and make it a possibility that Portland gets the 5th seed or the 5th best lottery odds. But right now it's we're alone in. We don't have to worry about falling to 8th unless we beat San Antonio twice, which I just don't think is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at 6 or 7, pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah, so, kind of got a clear-cut picture. But then, obviously, with New Orleans, if San Antonio passes them up, New Orleans moves up to 8th, which would be 26% chance at top 4. But we won't have to worry about them playing their way into the playoffs, and that could be the 8th or 9th pick, depending on who moves up that's below them. So you could be looking at 1 and 8 or something, which would be awesome. So New Orleans, there's a lot more uncertainty about where they end up than Portland at this point. Portland's probably looking at 6 or 7. Anyway, any other thoughts on that before I sim it?
I'd be very happy with 6 and 9. I mean, obviously, I want to move up.
Of course you would.
But 6 and 9 would be good. I mean, obviously, I want 6 to move up, but
Yeah. At that point, was that me and you that discussed that, or was that the stream before where we discussed potential trade up possibilities?
that was last night.
Yeah. I think you'd have to get at least that in order to trade up into the top 3 or 4.
Yeah, I don't see anyone trading back, but
Yeah. But at 6, you get Sharp or Griffin. So 6 would be a very important pick to go out and get. Let's simulate this thing. Let's see if we continue.
You just don't want any team below us to move ahead. I mean, especially New Orleans, but it helps not to have anyone else.
So on draft lottery night, if we're sitting there at 6, we're hoping that 14, 13, 12, 11, 10 doesn't move up.
Mm-hmm.
The Pelicans pick at 9. Like, we're hoping that every team below us doesn't move up. Obviously, the Pelicans, but, if we have 3 teams move into the top 4 that are 10, 11, and 13, then it's unlikely that our pick's moving up, so that'll be something to watch for on draft lottery day. Anyway, Charlotte at 14, Atlanta at 13, 12, New York 11, Washington. So far, like, this would be good. This would be good for Portland.
Yep.
Leaving all 4 top 4 spots open, which is the 4 spots they draw for. 10, you have the Lakers going to New Orleans at 9. We're hoping this is New Orleans' pick to the Blazers. It is. At 8, we're hoping it's not Portland. San Antonio. So this is best case scenario so far.
Yep.
At 7, we're hoping it's not Portland, and it's not Portland. We've had really good luck on postgame shows lately. Yeah. You got Indiana falling 2 spots, so you got Portland and you got 7 and 6 moving into the top 4. Portland and Sacramento. So, wouldn't matter where we ended up with those 2.
Hey, Tori.
What's up?
I was just thinking about your question from last night about when to start the mock-off season.
Yeah.
Maybe we should start it before the lottery and give me Portland.
What? Why? I know what you're saying.
Because I won the lottery the last 2 years.
See, but like that's just coincident. Like that's just luck. If we try and force the luck, we'll move down 3 spots and the Pelicans will move up. So
Maybe.
We just gotta let it play out. We can't try and force the luck. Yeah, because you have had good luck in that, but we're gonna do it after, and Portland's hopefully gonna. I don't know. I get where you're going with that. I accidentally scrolled all the way up on accident, and Portland's number 1.
Oh, nice.
Well, there we go. 1 and 9. Sorry for spoiling it without the dramatics. We've had really good luck on this tankathon
so awesome
lately. But yeah, you got Sacramento too. So at 1. I would try and trade 1 down to 3.
Would you?
Yeah.
Pull a Boston?
Yeah. So Houston also has, in this situation, they have the 3rd pick and they have the 16th pick. Would you trade 1 for 3 and 16?
You said Houston has this?
Yep.
Yes, I would.
I would too. Because I'm even on, like, Banchero, Jabari, and Chet. Very, very even on those. I just want one of those 3 guys. I'm happy with whoever.
Mm-hmm. And at 16, we probably get either Mark Williams or Koloko. And I like that. So.
At 16, we get Jeremy Grant. But, like, that's the thing. If you really want Jeremy Grant, okay, don't make it the 9th pick, all right?
But if we get Banchero or Jabari or Chet, like, why do we want Jeremy Grant?
Because we probably play him at the freaking 3. You know that's where we'd go. That's probably our offseason. If we get the number 1 pick, is we then trade another pick for Jeremy Grant. But that's the thing. It's like, just manufacture assets. I think the difference between Jabari, Paulo, and Chet is very close. Mm-hmm. So, like, if Houston's sitting there at 3 and they think the same thing, they probably don't trade up. But, like, it's a situation where Houston at 3 could be sitting there like, we really want one of those 3. So they'd be willing to trade up to 1.
Mm-hmm. So
that's the thing. You could, like, trade down here. You could end up with 3, 9, and 16. And then you could take, probably Banchero there at 3, which I'd be happy with. You could take somebody there at 9, and then you could take somebody, at 16 or trade it. Or, if 9 isn't enough for OG, then maybe 9 and 16 is enough for OG. Would you do 1 and 9 for number 3 and OG Anunoby?
Yeah, probably.
I'd be down with that. And then you got like Bankero and OG as your starting forwards. That'd be very intriguing. So that's the thing. Being for a lot of people, it won't matter being 1, 2, or 3 because they just want one of the three. But if you end up number 1, you can possibly trade down to 3 and get another asset. So just gotta be creative. That's what Boston did by trading down from 1 to 3 to take Tatum instead of Fultz,
Mm-hmm.
and that worked out. So
Dreaming of Bankero, Mathurin, Koloko draft.
Has Koloko been rising up draft boards?
I don't know.
What's the consensus on him? Has it changed recently? Because I haven't really seen that it's changed recently. I feel like 16 might be a little... Obviously, if you really like the guy, you just take him anyway, but I almost feel like we could trade down again.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk it because I want him either Mark Williams if we got the 16th pick. But yeah, I wouldn't risk it. But yeah, I mean, I don't see how his draft stock isn't higher. He's improved every facet of his game, and I think a lot of people that don't have him on there think he's going back for another year, which doesn't make sense to me either.
Koloko or Mark Williams?
Koloko.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Honestly, at 16 though, you could be looking at maybe like maybe Tari Eason is there.
Yeah.
Or
Agbaji could still be there.
Agbaji is mocked there in this mock draft. Or Sohan is there.
Yeah.
I mean, if Agbaji's there...
Well, like, one of those players is going to fall. I was just thinking in the scenario where we took Mathurin at 9, but obviously if we don't get Mathurin, Agbaji makes a lot more sense than...
I mean, I'd still take both of them. You know what I mean? I'd, like 3 Bankero, 9 Mathurin, and then Bankero, 16 Agbaji.
Yeah. I just kind of like the possibility of getting a good young big man that we haven't had in a long time, so...
See, yeah, I mean, like at 9, it would probably be Mathurin or maybe Duren. I'd probably rather go Duren at 9 and then like just wait on a wing at 16 because there's multiple, wing/forwards that I like. If Mathurin's off the board, I'd probably rather just go Duren and then like hope Agbaji's there compared to going like. Who would you take at 9 if Mathurin's gone?
If it went exactly like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. Between Duren and Eason. And I mean, I would still consider Johnny Davis there as well, even though we don't need a guard. Yeah, that's tough. That might be... I'd probably take Eason.
So, would you rather have Eason and Koloko or Duren and Agbaji?
Duren and Agbaji, probably.
Yeah. I mean, there's a chance that Agbaji doesn't fall, so that's the risk.
Ooh, I like Malachi Branham, too.
Yeah.
16.
Yeah. I mean, he seems intriguing. I need to watch more tape on him. But, like, that's the thing. There's a lot of good perimeter players available there. That's kind of why I just go Duren at 9. Or you trade 1 down to 3 and 16, and then you use 9 and 16 to trade up to 7, and you take Sharp.
Sharp and Bankero, yeah.
Sharp and Bankero. The upside on that is very intriguing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got possibilities. I'm just hoping that... God, can we just get lucky in the lottery, please? Because, dude, that's the thing. If we end up with 1 and 9... We could talk so many different pathways, possibilities. It'd be so much fun for a whole month. We just have content for a month.
Yeah.
If we ended up with 1 and 9. So, yeah, Branham's risen up draft boards a lot. Johnny Davis has fallen. Sohan's been kind of a riser lately. Blake Wesley, first round. I mean, this is just Tankathon. Koloko seems like maybe he's rising a little bit. This is just one mock draft, and Tankathon isn't necessarily the best mock draft, but at this point, there isn't really a good mock draft. There isn't really a good feel for anything. I mean, a lot of mock drafts last year had Josh Primo as like a borderline first round pick and he went 13. So like that could be Blake Wesley this year, could just randomly go at like 13.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. I'd be down to trade down 1 for 3 and 16, and maybe a guy's there at 16 that we didn't expect.
Yeah.
You know, Moses Moody was looked at as going like 6, 7, 8 last year, went 14th. So lots of different things could play out that you don't necessarily expect.
For sure.
Anyway, Habib, that's the same thing with Anthony Simons, and people hated drafting Anthony Simons at 24 because he hadn't proven anything, had only played in high school. People wanted Jacob Evans instead because he was a older forward who played in college on a solid Cincinnati team. Thank goodness we took Anthony Simons instead of him. You take the talent. You don't have to play in college to be talented. And that's the thing. People knock Dame too because he didn't play against legitimate competition. He played at Weber State. So what's going to happen when he plays against NBA players? Because he's been playing against guys in Weber State's conference. Anyway.
Chances Cronin trades the 7th pick for Grant. I think it'll be our 2nd pick that he trades. But yeah, unfortunately, that's probably a pretty high chance.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to speculate because there's rumors about Jeremy Grant, but I don't know if you should necessarily put 100% stock in him. You know, I see a lot of people just like assume. I'm not saying you are. I just see other people assume like Jeremy Grant's going to be on the team next year.
There's just too much smoke there for there not to be a fire, in my opinion.
I mean, I'm sure they want him, but do they want him that bad? I don't know if they want him that bad. And, I mean, I think if there's any chance that Anunoby gets traded, I think Portland will push hard for him.
See, I think they value Grant more than Anunoby, which is stupid, but...
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
But I can't say everything. So anyway, I mean, hopefully you would value OG over Grant 100 times out of 100, right?
Yeah. I'm not joking when I say this. I would rather re-sign Cj Ellaby for a minimum than trade for Jeremy Grant next year. I'm not joking. Like, I'm being 100% serious. I do not want any part of Jeremy Grant or guys like Aaron Gordon, those kind of players. Like, I want nothing to do with those guys.
I won't go that far with Grant. You know, I don't know. If he just embraced playing, like, if he embraced playing the role he played in Denver, then I'd be okay with him. But also, it depends on how much money he's looking for once this contract is up, because it's his last year of his contract next year, correct?
Yeah, next year is the last year, yep.
So, obviously, those things matter and factor into the equation. But, I mean, OG is just a clear-cut better option, and I hope that... I mean, I think we're screwed if our front office values Jeremy Grant over OG Anunoby. Like... If that's the case, so maybe it's a little bit of optimism thinking that the front office would value OG more, but if our talent evaluation is that far off that we value Jeremy Grant over OG Anunoby because Jeremy Grant is putting up good numbers on a terrible team, then I don't have faith in this front office at all.
I just don't think... I mean, I think there's a chance that Toronto wants to keep their 3 forwards and don't move any of them, but
yeah,
that's the problem. So maybe they just don't think he's available.
I mean, that's yeah. So I mean that goes back to if he's available. I think Portland will go after OG Anunoby. I don't think it's a situation where like OG's available and they're just like, nah, we want Jeremy Grant instead.
Yeah. So let me just break down why I said what I said. One. I mentioned this last night. I don't want to pay a player like $25 million or whatever we have to pay him and be stuck where we're paying a non-star big money to where it influences our moves we can make in the future. Like maybe in 2 years we don't have the MLE because or the full MLE. We only had the tax MLE like last year because we're paying a player like Jeremy Grant, who's not even that good, that kind of money. So that's where you get into trouble, in my opinion. And then two, I think trading for Jeremy Grant, everyone says like that's the people who like Jeremy Grant say that's like a step in building back towards a contending team, right? But I look at it the other way. I think if we make that move, we're basically putting another like hindrance or cap on our ceiling potential. And I don't think we can afford to do that after doing that in multiple trades this season as well, right? Mm. So the Larry Nance trade, I thought it was a good trade, but it turns out it might have screwed us because now we can't trade a future pick or whatever. And now we do the Norm Powell and Rocco trade, right? Which we get no assets to use in these trades. But we have all these trade exceptions, but we didn't get anything to attach to those trade exceptions in that trade. And then we have this reliance on the first round pick conveying from the Pelicans to maybe get some value there. But overall, every move we've made has limited what we can do in the future, even though they preach how it made us more flexible, which technically is true. But like, it does no good to have a $20.8 million trade exception if you don't know how to use it or don't have the assets to attach to it. So, like, we still could be kind of screwed there. And I feel like if we trade for Jeremy Grant, we're basically saying this team's not going to be any better than it has been like the last 4 or 5 years. Whereas if we just keep our draft picks and go that route, there's always a chance one of those guys could be better than Jeremy Grant and increase our ceiling. And I don't care how small that chance is, I'm taking a risk. Like you've always said about Shaden Sharp or whatever, you just take the risk on the most potential in any step you take. And I feel like trading for Jeremy Grant is basically saying, oh, you know what? We don't want that high potential. We just want to be okay again and get back to the first round or whatever. And I don't really like that philosophy.
Yep. I feel like Jeremy Grant would be a mixture of Norman Powell and Robert Covington. It would be a situation where, like, 2 years down the line, it's like, dang, we could have drafted this guy with that draft pick. Instead, we traded it for Jeremy Grant. That was a major mistake, okay? Because what's the thing with the Rocco trade? Rocco was talked about is the guy that, like, would be the perfect fit for Portland. They needed a guy who was an elite defender who could also knock down threes, right? And for years, everybody's like, Robert Covington would be perfect. Robert Covington would be perfect, right? So we make that trade, 2 first-round picks, and honestly, they're probably the same value as the pick we'd have to give up for Rocco. You know, it was looked at as like a mid-first and a potential late-first in 2021, which ended up being a little bit later, right? And people were happy with that trade. That was the type of guy we needed. People were tired of using draft picks, right? We need to help Dame now. We don't need to draft more rookies, okay? And how did that narrative change? Then it was, oh, we should have never made that trade in the first place. Robert Covington, we're still a bad defense. And we should have drafted Sadiq Bey. Which you were saying at the time, you know, like, I liked the Rocco trade at the time. You were more in the middle? Is that a good way to characterize it?
Yeah, I mean, I like going forward and getting Rocco because I thought he would help our team win more games, but I overvalue draft picks and I admit it, but yeah, I don't like giving up 2 firsts in that scenario, especially when a year later we're giving them away for free.
Yeah, so it's a situation where all of a sudden people acted like they never liked that Rocco trade when they did. People acted like, you know, Rocco was a scrub, which Rocco defensively was disappointing this year. He was an issue this year. But, you know, at the time I liked that trade because Robert Covington at the time was looked at as an elite defender on a solid contract who could knock down threes. And that's what we needed. Okay, I thought it was a little bit steep of a price to pay, but I like the idea of Robert Covington. He just didn't pan out that way. There's just a lot of people out there that were like, oh yeah, you would have to do that trade for Robert Covington if he becomes available, and now they act like they were never for it and it was a terrible idea in the first place. And I feel like it'd go the same exact way with Jeremy Grant.
I mean, Houston gave up 2 firsts basically, with Capella getting a first and then giving up another first for for Rocco anyway. So it's not like we massively overpaid. It was only a couple months earlier that Houston made the same exact trade basically with two first value. So that was Rocco's value.
Did they give up an Ariza in that trade, or like an Ariza caliber player? Because Ariza was solid for us. Did they give up Capella in the Rocco trade?
To us?
They gave a I know they traded Capella to Atlanta. Was that actually the same trade as the Rocco trade?
The Minnesota, Atlanta, Houston trade was all one trade. So Houston needed another first to give to Minnesota because they wanted 2 firsts.
Yeah.
And actually, I think Denver got involved too, because that's how Beasley and Hernan Gomez ended up there as well.
That was a bad trade for Houston.
So they got a first from Atlanta. I think it was Houston had Brooklyn's first that year, and they traded that to Atlanta, and then Atlanta traded that to Houston for Capella, and then Houston moved like all the picks they got in that was to Minnesota or something like that. But
Houston
was
paid even more than we did, because Capella I think is worth more than just Capella's underrated. So that was a bad trade for Houston, but it kind of set the precedent for Rocco. So the price wasn't as ridiculous as people wanted to make it out to be. It looks ridiculous when all you get back for him plus Norman Powell is Keon Johnson, but that's another conversation. I just feel like it'd go the same way with Jeremy Grant, where all these people want him. They like the idea of Jeremy Grant is perfect, just like the idea of Robert Covington was perfect. And then we bring in Jeremy Grant, and the idea of Jeremy Grant isn't exactly what Jeremy Grant is, and we should have just kept the pick and drafted this guy. I fully expect the conversation to go that route if we trade like the 9th or 10th pick for Jeremy Grant.
Why is our team all of a sudden horrible a rebounding team? It doesn't make any sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what? Jeremy Grant's awesome at defense. Why is our defensive rating not improving, right?
Mm-hmm. And then they watch him long enough where they realize, oh, wait, he isn't awesome at defense. We thought he was awesome at defense, and he wasn't. And for a power forward to only average like 4 rebounds per game is a huge yikes. Because that's basically where he's at. Mm-hmm. He's a bad rebounding power forward. Who's better as a power forward than a small forward. So some people want to move him to small forward, and maybe his rebound wouldn't be as bad there, but his defense is better suited as a power forward. His game is better suited as a power forward.
Dennis fan, we already did it, and we got the best possible outcome, so it's kind of... it wouldn't be as dramatic to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Just scrub back in the stream like 20 minutes. We do it pretty early now.
But yeah, like what if we trade a pick that turns out to be like Sharp or Mathurin and they become an all-star, and we're sitting there with like Jeremy Grant like not being very good.
Yeah. Yep. Like, I could honestly see, like, Mathurin just seems like if he's there at 9, that's just the guy you take, right? And that was kind of the feeling with Sadiq Bey. And then it's, we should have just done the obvious and just taken Mathurin instead of trading for Jeremy Grant.
Yeah.
Like, I have bad feelings about Jeremy Grant. I don't want Jeremy Grant on this team. Now, if it was like the 16th pick we traded for him, I would be sitting there like, I still don't like the idea of Jeremy Grant on this team, but thankfully we gave up less value than I expected us to in the case that we traded for him. Because if we trade for him, I'm just expecting that this is going to be the Pelicans pick. So if we're able to give up less value, like, part of me will be like, thankfully it wasn't the Pelicans pick.
Yeah, I guess. But you're talking about how there's going to be value there, and I don't know. I don't want to trade any of the picks. I love this draft, but once again, I overvalue it. But so people are asking about measurements and stuff. We don't know yet. We have to wait till the combine. Everyone's official measurements right now. There's mostly, I don't trust like when like Kentucky puts like Oscar Tshiebwe at 6'11" or something,
Yeah.
he's not 6'11", so we have to kind of wait to see. We have to kind of see what those measurements are. Now, if Matherin, Sharp, Agbaji, if all those guys measure like 6'6" with a decent wingspan, I think, or whichever one of those does measure well, I think we can possibly get away with playing them at the 3 more so than we had in the past. And I think all those are going to be better players than Norm. So I think we'd be fine. But yeah, it's going to be hard to talk about them as small forwards until we see those exact measurements.
Yep, absolutely agree. Yeah, they call me they call me Juicy. Says I want Grant. He's gotten a lot better offensively, but Detroit channels say he doesn't really try on defense now. But he's shown he can be a good defender before. Why would we want to relapse with guys who don't want to try on defense? We just fixed that problem. Because Norman Powell didn't want to try on defense. Robert Covington just hunted for steals, didn't want to do the things that matter defensively. So why in the world would we want a guy who wants to play for a bad team so he can put up numbers and doesn't want to try on defense?
Yeah, it's exactly the type of player Chauncey would hate coaching. Now, maybe they still do it because they're trying to please Dame, and that would be like the only reason why I could see it happening. But Dame's also said he doesn't want to play GM either, so I don't get why he would be like asking for that either. So I don't know.
Yep, and people will say, oh, well, he doesn't try because he's playing for a terrible team, and just bring him into Portland where he wins and he'll try and play defense. The problem is he wants to play for a terrible team, so he wants to play in a situation where he doesn't have to try on defense. Like, there's no argument around it for me. Now, he could have a change of heart. That's really the only thing, is he realizes that he wants to win basketball games and wants to play for a better team and is willing to, play defense again and be a lesser part of the offense. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the only thing that would potentially make Jeremy Grant worth it, but that version of Jeremy Grant is not worth the Pelicans pick. That version of Jeremy Grant, the Nuggets gave up a very late first for, and that was it. Mm-hmm. When he was making far less money than he's making now. So the whole Jeremy Grant thing is it's very clear cut and dry for me.
Yeah, well, and he's not worth $25 million a year or whatever you have to extend him for either.
Yeah,
and it's like you pay those players like $12 million, like we were paying Rocco, and we were paying Norm $15 million. And those guys weren't worth their contracts according to most people, but those same people seem to be wanting Jeremy Grant and be willing to pay him whatever it takes to keep him here either. That makes no sense.
Yep. So the response is, I just don't see the 10th pick being a big part of the team the first couple years, but Dame will be 34 by then. Well, that's what people said with the picks about the Rocco trade, and now they wish they had wish they had Sadiq Bey on this team playing minutes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can go back to the draft, 2020 NBA draft, and probably find players that would help this team. Tyrese Halliburton was drafted at 12. He's a really solid player. Devin Vassell even would help this team, and I wasn't high on him. Denny Avdia would help this team. He's been really, really good defensively this year. Sadiq Bey would help this team. Tyrese Maxey's a guard, so he wouldn't help this team, but he's starting for Philadelphia. He was the 21st pick. There's guys that help teams immediately.
I just want to say this. I'm glad Dame said it too. I mean, why does Dame get he'll be not as good at 34? Steph Curry's still good. Mm-hmm. Like Chris Paul's almost 37. He's still good. And like Dame doesn't have the history of injuries that either of those players have. This is his first major injury. So, and I don't even think it's if he would have just gotten this several years ago, and he'd probably be fine and it wouldn't have bothered him. It's and he would have been back within 6 to 8 weeks and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't, whether he declined or not, Steph, his team is still good enough, and they did a thing when he was older than Dame, where they basically suck for 2 years and got picks. Now those picks haven't really helped them, and now Wiseman's out for the year and all that kind of stuff. But they could have picked any number of players in those positions that could have helped them this year. At number 2 last year, I mean, pretty much everyone in the lottery was still good, but Steph's still an elite player, and it's just like I don't get it why Dame can't win at 34, but all these other players like Harden's older than Dame, and now we're talking like he gets traded to Philly, and they're talking about how he's going to win a championship. Durant's way older than Dame, and he's like still considered one of the best players in the league. Like all this stuff, like I just don't get why Dame's held to this weird standard that he can't do anything. And I actually think the opposite. If he's playing with really, really good young players, like if we make the right picks and they're good, it could have a Kawhi Leonard type influence, like what happened with the Spurs. They were pretty much done with their run with their Parker, Ginobili, Duncan era. All those guys were kind of at the end of their career, kind of washed, or that's what people thought. And then they just make one good move and get Kawhi Leonard. And I'm not saying we will get a Kawhi Leonard type player, but that completely rejuvenated that whole lineup. And all of a sudden, Duncan doesn't have to shoulder as much of the load. So, like, if you get a guy like Mathurin or Sharp and he becomes a good, like, scorer like CJ was, or maybe even Simons takes that off, Dame doesn't have the pressure he had before. He doesn't have to carry as much of the burden that he's carried for so many years on this team. And then he doesn't have a coach that is also forcing him to basically do everything for this team. So, like, I just don't get why, like, Dame just can't do that. Like, it's over in a year. If we don't get a good enough team in the next 2 years, we're done, right?
Yeah. Dame takes care of his body. He hasn't dealt with injuries. Like, he'll be good enough to be the best player on the championship team till he's 35, 36, in my opinion. I mean, the dude's a shooter. I mean, the dude's been playing with a injury for years and still popped off. So, like, honestly, who's to say him at 36 is not better than him injured at 30? Where he's still a top 10 player and a superstar in the league.
Yeah, I mean, but if we make the right moves, that's why I want to go for high upside, because we could have a situation where, like Chris Paul, for example, right? He's got Devin Booker. They made some good draft picks with Mikal Bridges. They make some okay signings. Cam Johnson's a good pick that we kind of made fun of at the time, but that's worked out really well for them. And all of a sudden, like, Chris Paul doesn't have to do as much, right? And Booker's the man on that team. So, like, what's to say Simons isn't in a few years, like, just to Dame's level, right? And who's to say that if we get like the 6th pick or something, that Shaden Sharp or whatever doesn't become Dame's level or whatever. And that's what I'm saying is Dame as like the 3rd best player, like, that would be insane. I mean, even if he's at 36, I still think we can win with Dame if he's not the best player on the team, if we make the right moves in the next couple of years.
Yep. Absolutely agree. So, don't trade a pick for somebody like a Jeremy Grant, because I think if we trade the Pelicans pick for Jeremy Grant, it lowers our chance of ever winning a championship with Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody that wants to do that trade can ever explain how we get the team good enough to win a championship.
Yeah.
So I want to do whatever maximizes the chance that we win a championship with Dame, and that wouldn't be trading that pick for Jeremy Grant. I think the chances would go up if you trade that pick for OG Anunoby, because he's a better player and actually willing to play his role.
My concern is he's been very injured.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is like that could. Here's the thing with like guys that have been injured that like makes sense is their injuries could make their price lower, which could make them more gettable, right? And then if they end up playing, then you're getting good return on value. So in terms of upside, the upside being them playing, it's a good upside move, which is what we need. So injuries are definitely a concern when it comes to Portland, but it's almost a situation where it's like if he was consistently healthy, it'd be less likely we could get him.
Yeah.
So
Shaggy Squid says paying Dame 50+ million a year as a third option though. Well, why do people look at it so negatively? I don't get it. If we have, let's say we get Banchero, right? When Dame's 34, he's still on his third year of his rookie deal, right?
mm-hmm.
So like he'd still be making like 8 million or something, whatever the third round pick makes in 3 years. So like it's not, who cares who's making what on the team or who's the best option or whatever. It's not like people like Banchero's going to resent Dame because he's making 50 million when he can't even get off. Like he's on a rookie deal. He's stuck in his contract by then. So like I just don't get it. Like, and by the time he's Chris Paul's age, he's going to be signing a contract that's most likely going to be team favorable, or as he approaches that, there's like an over 38 rule or whatever, and I don't know if it'll get that far, but like there, to think that Dame at 34, I think he'll still be good, right? Like at least decent as long as he's healthy.
Star,
like,
yeah.
If you could tell me right now, you could have a team with Dame as a star at 34 years old, maybe not quite as good as he was the last couple of years, but somewhere in between this year and the last 2 years, right? If you could tell me that would be our third best player on our team in 3 years, I would take that 100%. We're winning a championship most likely if Dame's at 34 years old. Yeah. I don't give a crap how much money Dame is making. We are winning a championship if he's our third best player in 3 years. Like we made excellent moves this year. Jeremy Grant's not going to be better than Dame in 3 years. So that's what my whole point is. We erase that possibility by trading for Jeremy Grant right now because he's a role player, maybe slightly better than a role player at his peak, and that's not going to be better than Dame in 3 years. And if it is, Dame fell off the cliff, right? Which I don't believe is going to happen, but that would have to happen for Jeremy Grant to be a better player than Dame in 3 years. But like, so I want players that have a chance to put us in a scenario where we're talking about, wow, Dame isn't even the best player on this team, and look how much money he's making. Like, who cares? Like, that's awesome in my opinion. I don't know why anyone would think of that as negative.
Yep. Agree. I don't even know what to add to that. It's pretty well summarized. I'm just kind of reading chat here.
Sam. Dame needs to get the hell out. He'd be a fool to waste the rest of his career with a rebuilding team. Yeah.
Troll. Troll. Troll somewhere else, Sam. I don't know who you're a fan of, but troll somewhere else.
And again, in case anyone's like missed me say this in the past, Dame signing the extension this summer actually means his contract will be less than it could be if we waited even a year or 2 years to sign him or re-sign him at the end of it, because it's tied to his current contract. Whereas if he became a free agent, it could be like a certain percentage of the cap. So right now, signing that extension actually makes him a little less, and it's tied to a percentage of the cap. So it will go up according to the cap, and actually the cap should jump up in a couple of years with a new TV deal. So that contract's actually not going to be that bad in comparison to it. It might be less than the percentage of his cap right now in his prime. So I just don't think it's something to worry about, and I'd absolutely offer him. And I don't get why certain people are making up this narrative that it's going to be a situation where Dame's going to ask, he just wants the extension before he asks out, or he's going to, he's just about the money or whatever. Like, none of that stuff makes sense. And
I mean, people are just buying whatever narratives are pushed their way by certain people with platforms.
Yeah.
Is my opinion, and they either don't know enough, which is fine, but don't know enough to like logically parse through whether it's BS or not, or they just are too concerned with narratives and not willing to just logically think about the situation. The thing is, it's a lot of roster building is a complex thing. So if I understand why people just, trust those that push narratives towards them. But that's what we try and do here is we try and show you the logic behind roster construction. Eric just had his video dispelling the myth that we are going to be sitting here with $60 million in cap space this offseason. He had a whole video on that. I put together the graphics for that to try and easily show it to you guys. Because here, it's not about like, I don't know what it's like for other people or other platforms, but it feels very narrative based, and there's certain narratives that that these platforms like to push. Especially when you talk national media, it's Dame should leave. When you talk about some other Blazers media, it's some of the stuff that you just touched upon. And I just care like, okay, what are our options? What options make sense? What options don't make sense? What is the logic behind these options making sense or not making sense? And if the options do make sense, do we have the ways to make them happen? Or how can we create the ways to make them happen? It's very logical and process based, whereas I think a lot of fans get caught up in just narratives that are pitched towards them that aren't actually real.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, even on my video, there was like a comment like, I think Cronin knows what he's talking about more than you. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, everything I said in here is just factual math information. Like, this is public knowledge.
The CBA
it's not like I made something up or something.
The CBA is available to the public. There's literally hard set rules that govern everything that you can know. Eric, that you do know. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And it's just numbers. So if you're able to do some basic math, and if you're willing to just study the CBA, which is public information, you can figure out if things work or not. You can figure out the numbers. It's possible. It's not as crazy as people think it is. So that's the thing is, you know the CBA, I know the CBA, we know how to do the numbers, we know how to parse through that information, and then it's like we'll sit there and try and present a factual account of the Blazers situation. There's no debate on it because it's literally facts, it's literally numbers, it's literally rules that are set in stone by the CBA, and we try and present that to people, and people are just like, I don't know, I'm just gonna say Cronin has $60 million in cap space.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is like I try very hard not to have any opinion based in like videos like that. Like I don't want to say, oh, this is what we should do with this money or whatever. Like I try to leave all that out of it and just say these are our options. Now what we do with these options is up to what happens, but yeah,
it's gonna be a fun off season, Eric. I say that sarcastically, but it will be a fun off season, but also it's gonna be frustrating dealing with the narratives and dealing with dealing with some stuff.
And so some people have some good points in chat about like national media and stuff, but like Dame said this before too. If let's say he joined the Lakers this year, right, instead of Westbrook, and they don't win a title, right, which is possible, right? How bad does he look? Like he's the one. It wouldn't be AD or LeBron getting the heat. He'd be getting the Westbrook treatment right now. I mean, he would never be that bad, right? But they would be like, oh, that was a horrible trade. It's all Dame's fault. He screwed up the Lakers. We were a championship team. We would have won if we would have kept, Taylor Horton Tucker, like, all that stupid stuff, right? Like that's, I mean, Dame. It doesn't guarantee a championship if he leaves for a team like that, right? And they'd have to, whatever team traded for him would have to give up so much to get him. I don't even think the Lakers have enough to get him. But like, I forgot who said it in chat, but someone said like Dame knows his legacy is, I mean, that's like the Dirk championship, right? Like you can't ever take that from Dirk. Like I don't think he made it out of the first round like after that year, right? It was like 8 straight years of first round exits or something after that, and like he didn't do jack, right? But he won that one title against like a super team or whatever, and his legacy is that he's a winner, right? For no matter what happens the rest of his career. So like, I just think Dame sees that, and he wants so badly to win a championship here, and I think he's going to die trying. And it's another thing. I don't get why people think that's a negative thing, that like, oh, he's taking the easy way out. He doesn't want a challenge or whatever. What?
This is a
this
bigger
is like the most challenging thing he could
yeah.
possibly do, right? Like the challenge, the not taking a challenge is what your boys are chumps running from the grind, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the easy way out. So,
This
yeah,
roster is trash, but yet Dame wants to stay, which means he's not accepting a challenge. Like, it's contradictory. I mean, we've done this. Dude, like, when are people gonna learn? Because we've done this for, like, 5 years. After Aldridge left, it's like, oh, well, Dame's gonna want out because this roster is gonna suck. And then we made a playoff run, made the second round, but then in free agency, we, signed Evan Turner and Festus Ezeli. And it was a disaster, you know what I mean? And people were saying then, oh, well, this team is frauds. They only won in the first round because Blake and Chris Paul got hurt. Dame's gonna ask out. He doesn't want to play in Portland, yada yada. Like, we've literally done this 5 years in a row, and all 5 years, Dame has sat there and told people like Sam K in chat, who's absolutely trolling, Dame has said 5 years in a row, no, I don't want to leave Portland. I want to win in Portland. I want to spend my career in Portland. He's said it a million freaking times, and every single time you have these same people out there that just say he's lying, he's going to leave, he's going to leave, he's going to leave, he's going to leave, and they're wrong. Time after time after time after time after time. And yet somehow you still have these morons that come back here and say the same thing for like the 6th offseason in a row, like something's new. Bruh, like, it's ridiculous. Like, when are people gonna learn? It's just literally not, like, anybody saying he wants to leave, it's not based on anything factual. It's not based on anything Dame has said he wants. It's not based on anything in the past with Dame, because Dame has dispelled this notion for half a decade. So I don't understand where people get off on this unless they're A, trolling, or B, just incredibly dense. I'm tired of sitting here having to argue this with people because it's not like they're listening to anything that's being said from Dame himself. Like, do people really think they know what Damian Lillard wants more than Dame knows himself? Or do they think that Dame is just a pathological liar who has just been lying for 5 years for the hell of it?
It's gotta be that.
Dame, like, bruh, if Dame wanted out, he would have been out before this.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't want to win in Portland, he wouldn't be in Portland anymore. But he obviously wants to win in Portland because he's still freaking here.
Yeah. Why? If that's true, okay. So, Brainiac Sam says Dame would have stayed if CJ wasn't traded. It's not hard to know what's going to happen. As soon as CJ was traded, it was over. Why did Dame not request a trade in the 2 days between, or 3 days between the CJ trade and the trade deadline then? Why didn't he just ask out as soon as he traded CJ?
There was an article that came out where, like, Dame and CJ talked about how, like, this was a possibility.
Yeah.
And, like, I forget the exact quotes from that article, but it sounded like Dame was happy for CJ because CJ got to go to a place where he could be the lead guard and truly show what he can bring as a lead guard. And CJ, you know, wanted to stay in Portland, but also wanted the opportunity to be a lead guard and lead a team like that. He was intrigued by the situation in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Like, well, and then here's the thing. People talk about, oh, CJ's gone, so Dame's going to want to trade. Who is replacing Cj Mccollum? It's Dame's protege. It's like Anthony Simons is legit. He looks like a star this year. Dame has mentored him from day one. It's Dame's protege. You can see Dame on the bench before Anthony, ended up missing time, Anthony would pop off and Dame would look proud. Dame would look like a proud father. And you're telling me that after Anthony Simons just popped off this year, possibly, a top 5 most improved player in the league, you're telling me that Dame's going to want to leave because it's him in the backcourt instead of Cj McCollum? Are you kidding me? It's just people that don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean, when there started to be rumors that Dame was going to ask out this last summer, what did I say? I said from the beginning, that's not who Dame is, right? That's not his character. He's going to decide that no, that's not who I am. I want to stay in Portland, right? And that's exactly what he said. When he said he wasn't going to request a trade, he said, I was like looking at it wrong. Like I had a talk with, I think it was his dad or something, and made him realize that would be going against everything he is, all his character and all that kind of stuff. And he even said, like, from this point on, I'm going to treat this like a marriage. I'm in it through the ups and downs till death do us part type of thing, right? And so that doesn't mean as soon as it goes down again, he's like, oh, okay, never mind. I'm gonna go right back to like not believing in my own character and just be not who I am anymore and just request a trade and leave. Like, I truly believe this last summer, Dame thought about it. He realized he was being not true to himself. He realized that that's not who he is. That's not the person he wants to be moving forward. And he made that decision, and it's set. He's either here for as long as he wants to be here, or until we basically trade him or force him out or whatever, which would be a horrible decision as well. But I truly believe he's in Portland and wants to do everything in Portland to do it. So, and for those that go ahead.
I think the offseason last year, my opinion is that it was a little bit different. I think Dame was putting pressure on the front office to really try and swing for big changes, because the front office, and Chris Haynes said this about Olshey, the front office had some risks available in the past that they didn't take. So it was a situation where Dame was tired of the same status quo and wanted the front office, if they had a chance to swing for the fences, if they had that sort of trade available, to go for it, and that was his way of putting pressure on the front office. I don't think Dame ever really planned or thought about leaving. I think it was more of a situation where he was trying to pressure the front office into going big because of the way the past couple seasons had gone, because of the status quo. And now you have a complete shakeup of the status quo, and you have options. You still have Nurk, you still have Ant. Josh Hart looks great. Ant looks like a star, and you have potentially 2 top 10 picks, maybe the first overall pick in the draft. Mm-hmm. That's how I think the last offseason went down, in my opinion. I mean, it's just speculation, but I feel like he was trying to put pressure on the front office to shake things up. So now that there has been a shakeup of the status quo, to say he wants to leave because of that, I think is completely wrong.
Yep.
Anyway.
And on top of all that, so you have the people saying like, oh, we should make a proactive move and trade him while his value is still good enough, because he's
I don't even want to go
he's
into
gonna
this.
lose value. But okay, let's say we pull off like the greatest trade ever and we get like multiple first round picks or whatever. What happens if we draft like the next Durant and the next Aldridge and stuff like that, and then they leave at the end of their contract? Or we get a guy like Zion who doesn't want to be here and kind of like is aloof the whole time and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's the problem. Like I still think we owe it to Dame to try and give him the best chance to win, and I just don't know if he knows what's the best, what gives him the best chance if he wants Jeremy Grant. But it's tough. Like I just don't think. I'm not worried about Dame leaving anymore. Like that's like not even in my mind anymore.
Yep. Anyway, tired of talking about this.
I'm going back to I had something I want to tell you about the game.
Okay.
You weren't able to like listen to it much, right?
Correct.
So during the game, there was kind of an awkward moment where Calabro asked Lamar Hurd what position he sees Keon playing, like if he's like a rotation player, and Hurd was like, and then he eventually said, well, he's gonna have to be a wing or whatever, and then he mentioned all the reasons that we talked about, like, there's Dame and Ant and Josh Hart and stuff with like the ball handlers, and Keon's maybe not the greatest ball handler, but like, so he's like, yeah, he's gonna have to learn to play on the wing and defend wings and stuff like that. And it's like, how he's so tiny. Like, I just don't understand that, and that's my problem.
I feel like that's the kind of the answer Hurd had to give there, you know.
But Charlie's right. He just totally put Lamar on the spot, and you could just hear him, like, the wheels turning in his head, like, oh no, what do I say to this? Right?
Yeah.
Keon played like 26 minutes, I think, though. Good for him.
Yeah. How did I didn't watch the broadcast with Demers. How was Demers on the TV with Hurd? I heard some people like Demers fit with Hurd better.
I mean, I don't think it was better or worse. It was fine. Yeah.
Demers is solid. I mean, I feel like he's going to be the guy to replace Calabro if Calabro ends up retiring again at some point, which I'd take Demers over Jordan Kent 10 days out of the week. I know there's not 10 days in the week, but 10 days out of the week.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they move him from radio or not, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tough spot to just be like, hey, I think he was doing both. Because the way he was calling the game was still kind of like the radio. So he might have been doing both, which is also a tough position, but
yep. Oh, God, I got caught up in a Dwight James tweet, dude.
Oh no.
You've been going at him today, or not going at him, but conversating with him, and dude, okay, I need to stop paying attention to anything that Dwight James says. Okay, I'm just gonna say that right now.
Mm-hmm. Did he say something else tonight? Or
he said it wasn't even. I'll read it off to you. Okay, let me find the tweet because I had just clicked off of it. He said he's arguing with Aaron Fentress. He said, Aaron, please, it's not even close between Hart and Powell. One is a starter who can shoot threes, and the other is a guy off the bench. Basically, it's not even close. Norman Powell's like that much better than Josh Hart. It's not even close between Hart and Powell. One is a starter who can shoot threes, and the other is a guy off the bench.
Oh, he also says Memphis is much better, but nobody wants to consider defense to court sides. Rookies can contribute. Look at Memphis; they're the number 2 seed and don't have a lot of overwhelming talent, or mostly like lotto picks, right? So, but isn't that the whole point? Is if we have 2 top 10 picks, we'd theoretically fix our defense with them?
Yeah, I don't understand, dude. I mean, I know he talks to Olshey. Maybe he talks to Olshey too much. I don't understand. The dude just complains about everything and has a negative take on literally everything. And dude, like that whole tweet, it's like you only care about threes and nothing else. Because literally everything else, I'd take Josh Harden. Okay, I was high on Norman Powell when he got here, but Norman Powell didn't try on he effort-wise was terrible. Moped around out there, didn't pass, didn't rebound, didn't play defense. Literally, the only advantage he has over Josh Hart is threes. Josh Hart has the advantage in every other area: size, strength. I mean, Norman Powell's pretty strong, but Josh Hart is stronger. Attacking the rim, finishing, maybe they're somewhat close in that regard. But in terms of every other intangible, passing, rebounding, defense, effort, attitude, Norton Powell acted like he didn't want to be here. Josh Hart embodies everything we need. We talked about earlier in the season how we needed a guy. We needed like a dog, Eric. You know what I mean? Like a guy who would just go after it no matter what defensively. A guy who would just bring the right attitude to the team. Like we didn't have a heart and soul of the team. You look at, like what Pat Bev has done in Minnesota. Like Marcus Smart is the heart and soul in Boston. We needed a type of guy in that mold, and we identified Josh Hart as one of those guys. And then Josh Hart comes here, and we're winning games against decent teams with Ant, Hart, Winslow, and Nurkic.
Like no one.
Yeah, and like nobody else. But it's because we're playing our asses off. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Well, shout out to Gray Hughes Investigates for the $5 donation. What changes happened in Blazers broadcasting? No changes happened. Calabro just had a family matter to attend to, so Demers did TV for a couple of games. But then he says, why Travis Demers now on TV? Like I said, it was just a temporary thing. And then what a crazy haircut he has too. Yikes. Yeah, that haircut is interesting. Have you seen it?
I mean, I've seen his hair before. Did he go even wilder with it?
It's like shorter than my hair on, like, but it's like goes diagonal, like across, and then he's got half of it, like up top. Like if you just went diagonally across the top of your head right now and kept half on your right side, but shaved all the part on the left side, so it's like almost like a mohawk, only it's on the right side of his head, not in the middle, if that makes sense. Like, it's weird. Yeah, bring a pic up on stream.
Where's a pic? Somebody send me a pic on Twitter. Well, that's what we'll end the stream off with. We'll do it space on.
It's very interesting.
We'll do a space after the OKC game. I know I said we do a Twitter space today. We'll do it after the OKC game. Yeah, somebody sent me a picture and I'll put it on stream, I guess. Because I really want to see it now. I saw a side picture of him, so it looked normal to me. So that's why I was wondering what you were talking about, because I saw a side picture. He got a side hawk. Is that what they call it? I'm still waiting for a Twitter DM. Let's see who's first to sending me a Travis Demers picture.
Well, if you go to travisdemers.com, there's a picture right there that has it kind of, but it's almost like his last haircut went a little too extreme of that version of the haircut, and it's even more like down the middle. I don't know.
I also let somebody step up on Twitter. All right, we'll see if anybody steps up to the plate and gives the people what they want, which is Travis Demers' haircut. Anyway, maybe his wife likes it. I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't bother me. People can have whatever hair they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Roy.
I mean, Travis Demers is a cool guy, so, I'm not going to toss any shade for a haircut. Travis Demers is the guy I genuinely like in Blazers media, and that's pretty rare.
It's all good fun if Travis ever sees this, right?
Yeah, no, now he hates us, damn it. Whoops. I blame Gray. Just kidding, Gray. Appreciate the dono. No, that's not as bad as I thought. But it is something. Shout out to, of course it's, who, I mean, I already started to say his name, damn it. I was going to ask you, who do you think came up with a picture?
I don't know. Trevin?
Yeah, of course it's Trevin. Of course it's...
But you're going to put it up on the screen.
Yeah, I'll put it up on the screen. It's interesting. It's not... Honestly, it looks better than it sounded. Alright, I think it actually looks phenomenal, just in case Travis Demers is watching it. I think it looks great.
He's a hip guy.
There you go. Let me zoom it in. Interesting choice. Interesting. I thought I was thinking it was going to be longer than that. That's not as...
Well, I just don't get why it's shaved on one side and then like normal for part of it, and then
yeah. Huh. I don't know.
What a couple handsome devils there, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if you had the part here, it'd be fine, right? Like short on the side, long up top. Short, like that's where I like to go. Like shorter on the sides, leave some length up top. I feel like that makes sense. I don't know.
That's what I was saying, Bonnie. Like, I think he went for his normal haircut, and they went a little too far with like the razor or something, and had to like redo.
Something slipped. I was like, well, we can
He's
do
got
the
nice,
part way
like,
up here.
the clean line going diagonal down.
Yeah, I mean, I've made fun of Eric for his hair before too. I've made him grow out his hair just to prove that he isn't bald before, which now is. But why did I ever say you were bald?
I don't know. I mean,
did you used to keep it shorter?
No, I used to always just use the razor and cut it short. Yeah, I mean, not like a normal razor, but use like a number 1 or the blade.
You should go bald on half the side of your head and then leave hair on the other side. And then you should no. Yeah, so you should shave like this part of your head and leave the hair on the other side, right? And then you should do the opposite for your beard. Okay, so it's like if you're looking at
like
on the bottom left, on the bottom left you got beard, and on top right you got hair, and then, or you could do 1/2 hair, 1/2 no hair.
Yeah, Tori was like he mentioned something about me being bald one day, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You're bald, right?" And I'm like, "No."
And you always wore hats, man. You were on your Gabe Vaughn
but no,
Carter.
like, pretty much since college, I've given myself the free haircut. So, like, I just use the shortest thing on my thing and just go for it, you know?
That must be nice.
And then, because then there's no maintenance, you know, like, this is as short as I've had it in a while, but this is, like, a lot longer than I used to cut it. And then, but yeah, so now, I had to grow it out during COVID just to prove that I had it, and it was pretty long actually for a while.
Yeah, had a mullet. It was beautiful.
And but now, yeah, Gabe can't even grow hair, man.
Gabe is a hatfish. That's funny. Yeah, I'm gonna cry when I go bald or lose the hair because I like my hair.
Why Harris? Why it should be Tori that has to cut his hair like that?
Hell no, I ain't never, dude.
You're the one.
You could say if I did the Eric haircut, we would get the number 1 overall pick instead of the 7th overall pick, and I still wouldn't do it.
No, the Travis Demers.
Oh, the Travis Demers. Nope, not gonna happen.
You said it wasn't that bad.
How am I gonna find a wife, bro?
What?
How am I gonna find a wife with that sort of haircut, man? I need to find a wife soon, you know.
Are you saying it won't just grow back within a month? Like,
I got to capitalize on the summer, right? You know, we're out of out of pandemic restrictions, right? So I gotta have the hair right, you know. I gotta be able to. Never mind. I'm not gonna talk anymore.
What? I thought you said it looked good.
Yeah, this doesn't. Well, it looks good on Travis Demers. I think it would look bad on me.
But then you know that
I'm not Travis Demers.
Isn't just into you for your dashing good looks.
Well, I'll probably just be into her for her dashing good looks. So fair is fair, right?
Okay.
Anyway, Dro, you're gonna get a 5-minute ban if you say that again. God, freaking Gabe. Gabe, why'd you have to
spill all your secrets?
Gabe spilled a secret, yeah. Anyway. And it's like an old secret that has been not a thing for like a year. So we're you guys are behind the times. Dro, I don't know. I haven't talked to her in a year, man. Relax. Anyway,
Why would we want to do that, Antonio?
Why would you want us to do that, Antonio?
Yeah. I mean, if they want to see us shirtless, I'm not going to say that's like wrong of them, but it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm not. The furthest I'll go is I'll wear a robe, right? Once I I still haven't found my robe. I don't know what happened to my robe. I think a girl might have stolen it. I don't know. Anyway, I legitimately don't know where it's gone. So, anyway,
Man, we need to have a so we have a draft lottery like somewhere close to like a basketball place, and after the draft lottery, celebrate by whipping all our chat members in some hoops.
I mean, we'll have the chance to do that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we could take out our anger on them, or we could celebrate.
Yeah,
One of the two.
hot tub stream. I had
Anyway, yeah, I'm Go Hawks. I'm not a player. I'm just kidding. I've never talked to a female in my life. That is the truth.
when I was in Reno, I got a hotel room with like a huge oversized bathtub because I really like being able to take a bath every once in a while since I don't fit in most like normal baths. And yeah, so I was like, I could have done a stream from the bath if that's what the people really wanted, but too late now.
Yeah. Blazers Uprise World Tour 2023. This is the part of the stream where I think it's time we hop off.
Yeah, exactly.
We went too deep with Gabe, the other night. So, gonna hold off on that until the off season, probably on more parenting advice or whatever. But we'll be live again on Monday. Today's Saturday. Yeah, Monday. Two streams Monday. Blazers Uprise Live, our second channel. Go subscribe to that if you haven't already. I know that there's some people watching this stream right now that aren't subscribed to our second channel, so open up the description, find Blazers Uprise Live, find the link for that, click on the link, then when you're on the page, hit the subscribe button, and also turn on bells for notifications if you want to. Because we'll be live on Monday, and that's pretty much the only place we're going to be streaming during the off season, except for like four occasions, except for the draft lottery, free agency stream, draft stream, and like our mock off season draft. So all our live streams are going to be over on our second channel. Make sure that you go subscribe to that. Also like the video, says Dro. Yeah, listen to Dro, like the video. Anything else that you wanted to talk about in regards to stream? Could be basketball, could be whatever.
Thank you everyone for watching. Hope everyone has a good rest of your weekend, and we'll catch you Monday, hopefully.
Yep, we should end up with some news on Trent and Watford. Hopefully it's not as bad as it could potentially be. Fingers crossed. And on Monday, we will talk about that on stream. If it's good, if it's bad, we'll talk about it Monday on stream, so definitely don't miss that. Blazers Uprise Live, link in description. And then we'll have a post-game stream after we hopefully lose to OKC. Hopefully we can keep this up. We're tied with Sacramento in the win column, so it would be awesome to move up to 6th place lottery odds. Alex Wolf, I love you too. With that being said, that's a wrap.
If you didn't read my article about draft prospects today, go read it.
Oh yeah. I'll plug it in the chat too for Eric.
I got it.
You got it. Okay. Yeah. Join our Discord. We tag you guys whenever we drop articles or videos or streams. So our Discord link should be in the description box below as well as our Twitters. Follow us. All that good stuff. I think that's a plug for everything. So we're out of here. I hope that you have a good rest of your Saturday night, a good rest of your weekend. We'll catch you again on Monday. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.